Hello, hello. This is Christine Peckstein with Move Into Action, and thank you for joining me for this week's show of the Issues Forum. We could have a jam-packed session every day if we constantly looked at all the issues that affect us. I mean, it is amazing. I've started carrying a black book. I don't keep names and addresses in this thing. I don't even have phone numbers in it. I have my phone that does that for me. But this black book that I carry with me is my new favorite thing because I write down all the different issues that I see that affect me. And I'm guessing because they're issues that affect me, that they're issues that are affecting you too. So I thought I'm going to carry this book with me. I'm going to mark things down as I read them, as I hear them, as I see them with my own eyes. Sometimes I'm appalled at what I see. I don't want to see it, but I'm exposed to it. It's an issue. We're going to discuss them all. And then all I want you to do is think. That's it. Think about how these issues affect you. Think of how they may plague you. Think about the things you're going to have to remove from your life so that they are no longer issues affecting you. Have you heard that phrase, not my circus, not my monkeys? Sometimes in our lives, that applies. We do not need to respond to everything because they're not our problems. That's the first issue that I'm going to talk about. What a segue as I roll into this. If it's not your circus and it's not your monkeys and it's not your problem, it probably means that it's not directly related to your life. It has nothing to do with you other than maybe gossip value, which should not be part of our lives. But we see things. They have nothing to do with us. They are of no concern of ours, but yet we are fully involved and engaged in what's going on. We got to say something about it. We got to write something about it. We got to respond to it. We got to act like we know how to fix it all, and it doesn't have anything to do with us. How crazy is that? Does that not mess with your blood pressure? Because I know when it happens, and I find myself in that situation, I have to, Christine, it's not your circus. Christine, they're not your monkeys. Christine, it's not your issue. It's not my issue. I have to remind myself of that. It's not my issue. I can remove myself from the frustration of that person's life, of whatever it is I see, whatever it is I've heard. It has nothing to do with me. Take yourself out of it. It's not for you to mess with. Which goes into our second thing here, the other issue. Do we find that it's difficult for us to mind our own P's and Q's? Now, I know social media plays into this. I'm not saying social media is bad. I love it. I love my Facebook page. I have thought about just having a business page because some of the stuff I see in here just drives me crazy and I really want no part of it. It's like, nope, I'm done with this. Facebook, gotta go. Too stressful. I got to remove myself from the things that don't concern me or the things that upset me. I have to create those boundaries around it. But what I find is that social media, from a life coaching and a stress management perspective especially, y'all listen close here, okay, because this matters. From a stress management perspective is that we're minding P's and Q's of other people that have nothing to do with us. You remember your mother teaching you that? Mama said? I should do a Mom Said segment on that, but I'm going to do it right now through the podcast. Mom said, mind your own P's and Q's. You got your own life you need to be dealing with. You've got your own brokenness that you need to be working on restoring. You've got your own relationship issues that need to be fixed, and you need to be focused on what's going on at home and in your own life. If you're focused on everybody else's, if you're minding other people's P's and Q's as if they're your own, number one, you're driving yourself nuts. Number two, you're using your time, your energy, and your resources for the wrong things. Because by the time you get done managing everybody else's P's and Q's and you're minding those, you have nothing left over for your P's and Q's. Is your life any better for it? No. So we need to be minding the P's and Q's at home first. Our own P's and Q's. Life management, stress management, things will be much better if we are using our time, energy, and resources for what is happening at home first. And once we do that, once we are focused inward and we're minding everything that has to do with us specifically, we're going to be happier. We're going to be healthier. We're going to find out we had more time and energy than we ever thought we did because we're not trying to fix the world. We're not trying to fix other people. We are not trying to interject our opinion, our self-help model into every other person thinking that we can solve their problems and they need us to. They don't. They're probably not listening, and they're probably just frustrated. It's frustrating. Think about your own life. When somebody comes to you and they want to manage your P's and Q's, is it not the most frustrating thing? Because it's like, hey, this is not your place to be. There should be a boundary here. You have no say-so here. This is not your life. You don't know what I'm thinking. You don't know what's going on in my life, number one. You really don't know all the behind the scenes that's happening. You don't know how I feel. You don't know what I've got to deal with. You don't even know the resources that I have or the lack of resources. And it's not your place to know them. Other people try to deal with your P's and Q's, and it messes with you. You get upset. They're upset because they're thinking they don't have enough time to manage your P's and Q's, but you never ask them to manage your P's and Q's. You want them to go on their merry way and mind their own P's and Q's unless you ask them for help with your P's and Q's. Okay, so we got on the issue of P's and Q's. We talked about the issue of social media, making it easier for us to think we got to mind everybody else's P's and Q's and manage them. We don't. We just need to stay on our own page sometimes. And when we get that right, then maybe some of the other areas of our life, we can start prioritizing those, managing them better, using our time, energy, and talents better. So we talked about that, how it affects us from a life and stress management standpoint. Okay, so we don't need to be managing other people's P's and Q's. We don't need to be diagnosing what's wrong with other people's lives. I'm sure that they know what's wrong with their lives, and whether or not they're going to fix them is up to them, because there's a thing called free will and free choice. Some people know what they got to fix and they just refuse to admit it. They don't want to fix it. They're going to ignore it. There's an elephant in the room, but we're not going to talk about it. If it's not your room, it's not your P's and Q's. Okay, so one of the other issues that I have seen, especially, and this has not just been this week, this has been an ongoing thing. It seems to be a trend, and I've picked up on it, and it's really driving me batty. It really is, because I think that it affects a lot of people more than they know. Is we have these superhero complexes today where, here's an example, okay? We've got people trying to raise kids who don't have kids. I left just silence there because I want you to think about it. We've got people today who want to raise and manage kids who don't have kids. They're trying to tell other parents how to raise their kids, how their kids should be on social media, how their kids should be doing this, how their kids should be doing that, and what's wrong with the parents for not doing it a certain way. Now, that's all fine and dandy, except that it gets really old when you've got somebody who doesn't even have children trying to tell you the best way to raise your children. They don't have kids. They don't know. They don't have your kids. They don't understand your needs. They don't understand the family dynamics. They may not understand how you ended up in the family dynamics that you are in. But yet they're passing judgment on you for being a terrible parent when they have no clue what it is to be a parent in the first place. And that is really frustrating because they're in Walmart. You see them, they give you the look. They're the ones standing there going, if I had kids, my kid would not ever do that. And you want to say, how would you know? What it makes people feel like is that you're this superhero parent who's not ever a parent. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what's happening. It's almost as if some of those individuals who pass off judgment like that are the superhero parents, the ones that did not want to have children because they were afraid that they would fail and become one of those parents that everybody's looking at going, I know what you should be doing right now. You should be eating them. Wildlife eat their young because of adolescence. I'm certain of it. If you've had a teenager, you know what that means. I've said that before. I've looked at my kids as teens and I've said, you know what? I think adolescence is why wildlife eat their young. They know when to call the shots and quit. And we laugh about it. It's a joke in my house. They know I don't mean anything like that. It just means that, you know what? I understand adolescence is difficult. Being a parent of an adolescent is really difficult. And for any of us to have our sanity left in us is amazing. That is a miracle. For us to remain sane while we're dealing with teenagers. When really, we want to eat them, but we're finding the patience and strength not to, and thanking God that our parents did not do that to us when we were that age. Oh, they didn't eat me. I'm not going to eat you, okay? This is survivable. But it really gets irritating when you get these superhero type of parents who are not parents. And that's the reason why they see themselves as these superheroes. They're going to come in and they're going to tell everybody else how to raise their kids. They're going to say, this is what you should be doing. This is what you shouldn't do. This is what is wrong when you do it. And this is what's right. And they're issuing all their opinions and all their expertise. And they're the superhero that could come into the world and make parenting everything that it should be if it was a perfect world. But the problem is they don't have kids. They didn't have kids because they were afraid of failure. They were afraid that they were going to fail at being a parent. They wouldn't be that superhero, but they have this mentality that whatever it is that they have to offer or say, opinion or otherwise, is what's going to fix the world, and it makes them seem to be the superhero. Well, that dad didn't do that, so you know what? I'm going to come into the picture. I'm super dad. I can fix it all. I'm going to do it right. You're not my kids. I can do it right. I'm not going to fail. Whereas if they had their own kids, sometimes I wonder if they didn't, because I thought that they would fail at it, but yet they're trying to correct everybody else, and they hold themselves in this superhero light of, if I were a parent, I would do it this way, and I would be the super daddy. I would be the super mommy. What does that say to the rest of us who are really out there and we're struggling with kids and we're doing the best that we can? But sometimes, some days, those little suckers just make you want to eat them. You're lucky you haven't ripped your hair out and you are doing a good job. And you are there for your kids. And you are there helping them with their homework. It does not mean it's a perfect world. It does not mean that every household is going to be perfect. It doesn't mean that you have failed as a parent. It just means that the world is a messed up place. And honestly, what it means is that we need to issue far fewer opinions than what we're doing. And a lot more compassion. And say, you know what? You look really frazzled right now. Is there something I can help you with? How about that? You want to be a superhero? Why don't we be the superhero of help instead of superheroes of criticism, of attitude? Be superheroes of compassion and grace. Be superheroes that say, you know what? I care. I don't know what you're going through. I'm not a parent. I can only imagine instead of thinking you know all that. So those are some of the issues that I have seen this week that I wanted to focus on for this episode of the Issues Forum. I'd like to know your comments and your opinions. So if you want, go ahead, log on, leave them. We might even cover some of those in one of our future episodes. I will see you guys next week. I got my notepad. I got my book. I'm watching. I'm listening. I'm learning. And we're going to talk about some more issues so that we can learn to use our time, energy, and resources in ways that allow us to live with less stress, more sanity, and a little bit more breathing room. Okay, you guys have a great week. I'm Christine Pechstein. I will see you next week.